Insurgency is on the rise in the impoverished West African nation of Mali, especially in its northern and central regions. On the 7th of September, attacks on an army base and a passenger boat on the Niger River in northern Mali by suspected jihadists killed about 64 people. The assaults were claimed by a group that is said to be affiliated to the Al-Qaeda. The very next day, a suicide attack targeted a military base in northern Mali. And on the 12th of September, armed groups from northern Mali claimed to have captured the key town of Borem following fighting with the Malian army. Now, given the resumption of hostilities in the north, the junta has cancelled the Independence Day celebrations that were planned for the next week. Our next poll gets you more details.
The landlocked, impoverished Republic of Mali has been wrestling with insecurity since 2012. When a revolt led by ethnic Tuaregs erupted in the north of the country. The insurgency was stoked up by jihadists, who 3 years later took their own campaign into central Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, thereby sending shockwaves across the Sahel region. The Northern Rebellion formally came to an end in 2015 with the signing of a peace agreement between the region's rebels and the Malian government. The fragile deal, known as Algiers Agreement, has been increasingly under strain since the toppling of the civilian government in 2020.
The Malian crisis is a crisis that's been going on for over a decade. And now, under the current political circumstances, the crisis has been intensifying again after a lull of around 8 years, we can say. And this lull was mainly due to the fact that the international forces were making some difference in terms of keeping jihadists at bay to a certain degree. Now, the attacks that took place in northern Mali, and northern Mali was where a lot of the French forces were concentrated, and the UN forces were also heavily concentrated in these areas. Northern Mali was also the region that was the source of the Malian crisis initially, more than a decade ago.
The UN peacekeeping mission, known as MINUSMA, has to exit Mali by the end of the year and has already handed over 2 bases near Timbuktu to the armed forces. Given the impending pullout, the region has witnessed a resurgence in tensions in recent weeks. First, on the 7th of September, in 2 separate attacks targeting a ferry on the Niger River and an army base at Bamba in the northern Gao region. 49 civilians and 15 soldiers were killed. The targeted vessel was plying a route between cities along the Niger, a crucial transport route in a region where railways are absent and the road infrastructure is in abysmal condition. Reportedly, the vessel was targeted by at least 3 rockets, which aimed at its engines.
The boat stopped abruptly because the engine had been damaged by a bomb. And that's when they started shooting at us, and people started jumping into the water, including those who couldn't swim, and most of those who decided to do so drowned.
A suicide attack targeted an airport area of a military base the next day in northern Mali, killing 10 soldiers. And on Tuesday, the key town of Borem, which lies on the road between the ancient city of Timbuktu and Gao, was captured by the Permanent Strategic Framework, or CSP, a coalition of armed factions before they pulled out. Rivalries between the multitude of armed actors vying for control of the north have recently intensified, fueling fears of a collapse of the peace deal between the ex-rebels and government forces.